everyone, so today I am here to do my gigantic January wrap-up. If you don't follow me on social media, this is the first time you guys are seeing my new haircut. I really like it. I like myself with bangs, so I decided to go for them again. It's been a while since I've had them. But yeah, I got bangs and I lightened my hair like 7 shades, which that was fun. But anyways, the month of January, honestly, I'm always a person who I'm like, wow, the month went by so fast, but this month low-key kind of dragged on forever. Like, I feel like January was like a year long. I came back to school, obviously, my winter break ended, but also like half of the month was still my winter break and all of that kind of stuff. So it's been pretty hectic, but also I read 22 things. Yeah, my TBR like list in my notebook went over onto a second page. I think I read 10 novels, 11 manga volumes, and 1 novella, and I also DNF'd 4 things. So yeah, I mean, really good reading month. Yeah, I mean, without any further ado, I'm going to get right on into it. I don't have a lot of books anymore to like hold up because I came back to school after winter break, so I just left books I had finished over at my house. But I'll just put a photo over here. So, the first book that I finished this month was a Wind-Up Bird Chronicle by Haruki Murakami, which was a reread for me. It was the first time I was rereading the Wind-Up Bird Chronicles, and obviously I give it a 5 out of 5 stars. It was wonderful. I loved it. I annotated it this time, and that was a lot of fun and made me notice so many more things. It had been quite a while since I read it. It was almost 2 years. It would have been 2 years this March, and it was a lot of fun to go back and reread it. I read it as a buddy read with Haley, so that was a lot of fun. The second book that I finished was my first reading, not a reread, of The Confederacy of Dunces by John Kennedy Toole, I believe. This was such a good time. I really liked this book. I thought it was really, really funny. I gave it a 4-star just because I did find it a little repetitive and it could get a little bit boring in spots. But this book was so good. This was what I picked up on a whim from a used bookstore. I had never heard of it before. I knew nothing about it. I just picked it up because I thought it looked interesting, and I ended up really, really enjoying it. The main character is so horrible, but like in the best way, and he was really fun to read about. I've never really read about a character like Ignatius, however you say it. I will say though, if you don't like unlikable main characters, you're not gonna like this book. I kind of love books where you hate the main characters, so that's why I really like this one. But yeah, warning, don't read this book if you hate books where you hate the main character. The next book I read was actually a really big disappointment, but that was Jane Unlimited by Kristen Cashore. If you know me, you know I loved the Graceling Realms trilogy. My friend, one of my best friends from middle school, we started reading these books. And I think I've read the Graceling series like 2 times, maybe the first book 3 times. I love those books, and we're always like, oh my god, I can't wait for the next book in the Graceling series. So I was already a little disappointed that Jane Unlimited wasn't a part of the Graceling series. And then I read it, and I was just so bored. I didn't really like the writing. I was a huge fan of Kristen Cashore's writing in her other books, and I just didn't like the writing in this book. I found it like just I guess. I just wasn't a big fan. It's supposed to be like kind of based off of a choose your own adventure, and I read mostly in giant chunks. Like, I don't read like a little bit each day. I'm so busy that usually when I actually get a chance to sit down and read, I usually read like an entire book at once or like a giant chunk of a book at once. So I sat down to read Jane Unlimited in my usual fashion of reading the entire book in one day, and it was so boring and repetitive and annoying because rather than actually picking which ending you want, you just get all like 5, I think. So reading them all at once was so boring. Do not do that if you're going into it. But like, that's how I read. So like, I just did not like this because it was so boring reading it, like all of the different endings, and I don't know, I wasn't that big of a fan of the characters. This book felt like it was very much like, I'm gonna say it was like John Green because I don't like John Green, but it was very much like in that like trying to be quirky just for the sake of being quirky. Like the main character, oh my god, the amount of times freaking Doctor Who and Supernatural got brought up, which that's great if you like those things, but as a person who never cared about them, I was just like, I don't care about this. So it was a little bit, yeah, I just didn't really care for it that much. The next book was another one that I really didn't like, and that was Invisible Monsters by Chuck Palahniuk. I have just decided Chuck Palahniuk is not for me. I read his book Fight Club a couple years ago. Hated it. But I always figured like I should give him another chance, so I did try, and I gave this a 1 star. I hated it. I thought it was horrible. It was just so irritating, and yeah, I did not like it. Also, like, the twist at the end just made it so much worse. Like, I don't know, the ending really, like, endings are kind of one of those things that make or break a book for me. Sometimes an ending can make a book go from, like, a 2 star to a 4 star or something, and it can also make a book go from a 2 star to a 1 star, so I really hated the ending of this book. The next book I read, I loved, which, yes! Oh, I'm so happy I finally read this book, and that is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I had put off reading this book for so long. I love Daughter of Smoke and Bone by her, and I don't know why I didn't pick this up earlier. I had it on my Kindle for like probably a year now, and I finally picked it up, and I loved it. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. It totally renewed my love and like made me want to start picking up a little bit more like YA, fantasy, or sci-fi kind of thing. I loved it so much. It was so good. This book, I mean, everyone knows what this book is about. It's about a man named Laszlo who is a librarian, and he is obsessed with the city called Weep, and he gets a chance to actually go to this city and like all of this stuff, and oh my god, I haven't cared about a romance or characters as much as I have cared about these in a very long time. So, I really, really enjoyed this one. It was so good. And then I did 2 buddy reads with Haley again, and that was for A Wrinkle in Time as well as the sequel, A Wind in the Doorway. I really, really enjoyed the first book. I gave it a 4.25 out of 5 stars. I thought it was a lot of fun. It really reminded me how I felt when I was reading Narnia or like Lord of the Rings for the first time. Like that very magical, kind of whimsical, like entrance into a new world. And I really, really enjoyed it, and I thought it was just a lot of fun. But the second book honestly did let me down. Like, it was fine. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. But the thing is, I was expecting it to continue on from the first book, because the first book low-key ends on a cliffhanger. So I was expecting the second book to continue on, and it doesn't. And I was just like, I wanted to know what happens next, but we just got a whole new story. Like, if I had gone into the book expecting it to be a completely different story, I think I would have liked it more, but I was expecting a sequel. But yeah, these are a lot of fun. I never got to read them as a kid, so I really enjoyed them as an adult, so that's nice. And then I decided to read some manga because at this point I was in the middle of a readathon, and I read number 6, volume 1, which I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. It was a really solid introduction to this series, and I'm definitely going to try to pick up the next couple of volumes. It is about kind of a futuristic world, and this boy, when he's younger, he like houses a guy who is a criminal, and then his entire life changes because of this, and then when he's older he meets that criminal again. I've been told it's gay. It hasn't gotten gay yet, but I picked it up just because I heard a lot of good things about it. And yeah, it was a pretty good introduction to the series, and I definitely want to continue. I also picked up My Little Monster Volume 1, which I was honestly kind of disappointed in because of what I'm going to talk about next. I give it a 3 star. It just didn't impress me that much. I know a lot of people really enjoy this series, but I read a way better series that does the same plotline. This month I read all 8 volumes. I only have the last 4. All 8 volumes of Honey So Sweet by Amu Meguro. I feel like this is a series that people don't really know about. I picked up the first 4 volumes on a whim while I was out shopping, and I saw them, they were buy one get one free at a store that I went to, so I picked up the first 4, and I obviously immediately grabbed the last 4, and I read them all this month, and they were so good. They ranged in star ratings from 3.25 all the way up to 5 stars. Like the first volume's a 5 star and the last 2 volumes are 5 stars. In the middle, like obviously it's a shoujo, so it gets like a little bit convoluted, but these follow similar to My Little Monster. It is about a cute young girl who falls in love with a delinquent. Or a delinquent more falls in love with her. So yeah, again, very similar to My Little Monster, but I think this is executed so much better. I like the characters so much more. This follows Now and Onis, or Taiga, and how they love each other. And basically when they were young, Now gave Taiga an umbrella, and like it's super cliche and adorable, and then he goes and finds her to give back the umbrella, and he not proposes, but he asks her out saying, will you date me with marriage in mind? And it's just so cute. I love all of the characters so much. Yashiro and Misaki are also just two of my favorites. They are so cute. I also feel like this one tackles more like relevant kind of issues that I haven't actually seen in manga before. Like one of the characters, I'm not gonna say who, she has a boyfriend who cheats on her a lot, and she just accepts this because she thinks that no one else will love her. It also tackles like social anxiety and stuff like that, and it was just, I loved these so much. This is a new favorite manga. I don't like shoujo, and I was gushing over these. They're so good. I love the art. Here's just like the cover of one of them. Yeah. And here's some of the art. It is just really cute. I think if you like the art style of orange, you'll really like this one. So yes, these were so good. I'm low-key angry I read these at the beginning of 2018 because these are gonna be on my favorites list of like favorite books of 2018. The next book I read was one of my most anticipated releases of 2018, and that was Thunderhead by Neal Shusterman. Like I mentioned in, I think, my book haul or something, I'm not sponsored. I know a lot of people are getting sponsored to talk about this book. I am not. I just love Neal Shusterman. I love his Unwind Dystology and a couple of his single standalone books. I adore him. And I read Scythe last January and I adored it. So obviously this one, when it came out, I had to go and pick it up. This one I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. The first one I gave a 4.5. I did bring it down just a little bit because this one was definitely not as action-packed, I guess. It was definitely more of a stepping stone for the last book, which I don't have a problem with because I did really enjoy a lot of what happens in this book. The ending blew, oh my god, the ending is freaking insane. Like, if you are reading this book or start reading this book and you're a little bit bored by the beginning, middle, just wait for the ending because you will be shook. We also get an introduction of a new character in this book, which at first I was a little worried about because Neal Shusterman has this thing about adding a character each book. Like in Unwind, he added a new character each book, and I was just like, I don't care, I just want to read about Connor, so like, you fuck off. But his name is Grayson, and he is awesome. I loved his chapters low-key the most, but it did annoy me because we don't get that much of the main two characters, Rowan and, what was her name, Cecilia? Something like that. The main two people we don't get that much from. We actually get a lot of like other stuff, but again, it's definitely a stepping stone for the next book, but by itself it is still really, really good. I gave it 4 stars. I'm really, really excited for the last book. I can't believe I have to wait a whole nother year though. Okay, so the next one, I have to give credit for Dylan for telling me to read this. I read Eliza and Her Monsters by Francesca Zappia. I was never going to read this book. I got it on my Kindle because it was 99 cents one day on Kindle Daily Deals, and I just got it because I'm weak, and when I see a popular book, I download it even if I don't care about it. I was never going to read this book. I was not going to read it. But I put a poll up on Twitter, and Dylan was the one who was like, you have to read this, it's so good. And I started looking at it, and it sounded kind of like Fangirl, and a lot of people were saying that if you have an online presence, you'll really enjoy Eliza and Her Monsters. I loved it! It was so good! I gave it a 4.25 stars. I honestly have to reread Fangirl or something to decide which one I like more because it's been a little while since I read Fangirl, but I feel like I actually enjoyed this more than Fangirl. I thought the author just did a really great job. She really kept me engaged. Like, there was a little bit of a time where it got a little bit boring. I feel like it could have been a little shorter, but I just thought this book was amazing. And it made me feel a lot of things, like, not as in like, oh, well, the feels, but like, like, the main character's parents do something that makes her really upset, and, like, the parents don't even notice, like, that they've made their freaking daughter this upset, and I got so passionately, like, this is so horrible, I'm so angry at these parents, and stuff like that. And also, it definitely is relatable. If you have an online presence, whether it's YouTube, or writing fan fiction, or writing comic books, or making fan art, I think you will love this story, especially if you've ever had a video, comic, fan fiction, or whatever go viral. I think you'll really enjoy this. It was so good. Like, I mean, I'm Kate. I hate YA contemporary, and I'm saying this is really good. If you have to trust someone, just trust me, guys. The next book that I completed was Born by Jeff Vandermeer. This was a buddy read with my friend Graham, and we both loved this so much. Oh my gosh. I knew I recognized the name, but I've never actually read anything from Jeff Vandermeer. You can bet I'm going to be reading something next by him. Like, I personally give this a 4.75 out of 5 stars, so close to a 5 stars. This book is ridiculous. It is everything I could ever ask for. Like, y'all know I love weird-ass books. This book hit the nail on the head so well. This book is so hard to explain. It is about a kind of futuristic world, and there's this girl named Rachel, and a person that she's with, named, what was his name? This guy, I can't remember his name right now, it starts with a W, but yeah, so they have to scavenge because, like, it's kind of apocalyptic, like, the world has gone to shit, and they have to scavenge for their lives. And Rachel is off scavenging one day, and she finds this little plant, and she doesn't know what this plant is, so she takes it, and this plant slowly grows until it has, like, a conscience, and she names it Born. I also forgot to mention that this apocalyptic world, the god and, like, their ruler is a giant bear. His name is Mord, and he can fly. I think that's the coolest part of this book, is Mord. I really enjoyed Mord. And, Born, yeah, this little plant dude, like, he grows into, like, this being. And it was the most unique book I've ever read. Like, this book gave me feels of, like, when I was first reading Murakami, like, that first read of Wind-Up Bird Chronicle. This was giving me those kind of feels. Like, it was so unique and brilliant, and it did, like, sometimes it lost me a little bit, but wow, like, just what it talks about with humans and human nature and the world, it was insane. I almost started crying at the end, I'm not gonna lie. Like, it wasn't even a sad ending, but, like, I genuinely was just so passionately involved in this book. Like, I got a little teary-eyed. Like, this book is so good. If I have to recommend one book on this entire list, I recommend this one. Like, if you're gonna get any book that I talk about today from this wrap-up, get this one. Get it. It is so good. It is so good. Alright, so the next book that I read was another manga that I actually have right here, which is Natsume's Book of Friends by Yuki Miyorikawa. This I picked up on a whim. I honestly keep getting it recommended to me on thrift books, and it's only like $3 on there, so I decided to just go for it, because I recognized this little dude. This character. None of my other, like, anime friends seem to recognize him, but, like, I've seen this character places. So I decided to pick it up. And I really enjoyed this. This was an introduction, obviously, to the series. I think I gave it 4 stars. Yeah, 4 stars. It was a very solid introduction. It is about a boy who his grandmother basically bullied yokai, which is, like, the word for, like, demons, kind of, spirits. And she would bully them, and when she would, like, win in a battle against them, they had to write their name in this book. And with this book, she would be able to call on any of them to do her bidding. She has passed away, and he has her book now, and he can see these yokai. And he is now on a journey to give back the names to the yokai because they're trying to kill him. So he's like, I'll just give them all back their names. But yes, and he has this little friend who is actually not his friend at all and is trying to kill him. But it's a very interesting series, and I'm definitely going to continue. I actually have the second book, and I have the next 3 after that coming in the mail. So, and the next book that I completed was a novella, and that was Caroline's Heart by Austen Chant. If you guys know me last year, I was obsessed with Peter Darling. It wasn't on my favorites of the year, but it was in my honorable mentions. I love that book so much. It is so good. Austin Chen is known for his amazing LGBT, mostly trans love stories. So when I saw this one on Kindle Unlimited, which I do have, I had to get it. I think it's 99 cents right now too, if you guys wanted to read it. I'm not gonna lie, it let me down. I gave it a 3-star, and that is a generous 3-star. Basically, I was gonna do 2, but then I was like, I can't disrespect Chant like that. This one just didn't do it for me. I'm a fan of westerns. It's set in the West, like cowboys, stuff like that. But like, I don't know, this one just seemed super gimmicky to me, which I'm actually usually low-key a fan of. But this one just seemed even more so than usual. Yeah, so it's about this boy or man named Roy and a witch named Cicely, and they're falling in love and stuff like that. There were just some stuff that I didn't understand. And also, I just found this really boring, and also, like, low-key a little insta-lovey. Like, yes, this romance was kind of happening through the whole thing, but, like, they suddenly went from, like, hating each other to liking each other, then sex. I was like, okay. It also very much was, like, a fan fiction kind of narrative. It was, like, characters meet, stuff happens, sex. Like, I was just like, wow, it felt more like a fanfiction than even like Peter Darling, which is a Peter Pan fanfiction. Like, so I had some problems. I was also just baffled at the ending because like during this sex scene, the main character is a trans man who still has breasts because it's obviously a main plot point that he still like shows as a female, so he doesn't want the other cowboys to like realize this, all that kind of stuff. But then like during the sex scene, he has a penis. But also, he ran away from home when he was 17 because his parents wouldn't support him, and he was just trying to make ends meet by working. So when did he get the money to get this surgery? There was just like a little bit of technicalities. I was like, I'm confused. Did I miss something? Did I miss some magic or whatever? I was a little confused. It's only 97 pages, so I'd be baffled if I missed something, but low-key I was skimming a little bit towards the end. If someone wants to correct me on that, totally do, because I was baffled at that. Anyways, those are all of the things that I finished this month, but I also am going to very quickly mention the DNFs that I had this month, because there were a lot of them. I DNF'd Pachinko, which I DNF'd because I updated my Goodreads review for this. So basically, I've literally always been like, I love generational stories, because I loved New York by Edward Rutherford. So I keep buying generational stories, and I have DNF'd every single generational story that I have read besides New York. And I'm like, I started thinking about it, I'm like, you know what my favorite kind of books are? The ones that take place in 24 hours. You know what's the opposite of a 24-hour book? A generational story. Like, I don't know why, like, Kate was like, yes, I love generational stories, because I DNF every single one of them. So I think if you do actually like generational stories, you'll be fine with this. I just was bored, and I couldn't stand the writing, because I feel like in generational stories, it's always like, this happened, then 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 this happened, and I'm just like, wow, I don't know who any of these characters are, and I don't care about them, so. And then I DNF'd, this one I'm angry about. I'm actually really angry about it. I DNF'd Renegades by Marissa Meyer. Yep. I spent money on this. I spent actual money on this. I bought it from Target for like $15 because I was so excited for it. And I DNF'd it at like 150 pages. I gave it a long time. I usually give books 50 pages. I kept just being like, I'm gonna get into it, I'm gonna get into it. I never got into it. I just found it really, really boring and really like not unique. So yeah, I ended up DNFing this one. I am keeping it though, which I don't usually do with DNF books, but if the next one comes out and I hear good things about it, I might try it again, because I love Marissa Meyer, but like, I just could not get into this book. But I'm gonna try it again maybe later, but very disappointed. And then I DNF'd 2 arcs that I got from NetGalley, which was The Bells by Danielle Clayton, which was a very highly anticipated book of mine and a lot of people's. I just didn't care that much for it. I think if this book came out 10 years ago, it would have been revolutionary. But after the selection and Hunger Games and stuff, it's just not unique at all. Like, I read the first 50 pages, and I'm pretty sure I can, like, guess the entire ending. I actually think I watched a book talk on it, or, like, read a review or something, and I actually was right in a couple of my guesses. So it was just not worth it for me to read anymore, because it was so predictable and so obvious what was gonna happen next. So That was a disappointment. And then the next one was probably the biggest disappointment, or no, Renegades was the biggest disappointment, but this one was high up there because I was really anticipating this book. I forgot to put it on my anticipated books list, but it was one of my most anticipated, and that is American Panda by Gloria Chen, I believe. This sounds so cute. Oh my god, this sounded so freaking cute. It's about like a Chinese American girl who like goes to college, but she like doesn't want to be a doctor because she's scared of germs and like all of this stuff. It sounded so cute. And I tried reading it and I couldn't make it past the first chapter. It was so badly written. Like, I don't want to like sound like that, but it was so badly written. I couldn't believe it had gotten published. Also, I was literally like, did this author ever go to college ever? Because no one talks like this and no one does this. Like, in the first chapter, the love interest is introduced and he comes over and talks to the girl, and I was like, wow, that build-up though. Also, I don't know, I was just not impressed. So I DNF'd that one. Alright, and that, I think, is my extensive list of books that I read or DNF'd this month. I am going on 30 minutes of filming, so I should wrap this up. Anyways, I hope you guys all enjoyed this video, and if you have read any of these books or want to read them, definitely leave it down in the comments below and start a conversation with me. Anyways, I love y'all, and I'll see y'all soon. Bye!